Welcome, everybody, to the Farr and Beyond podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Scott Jones. We've got Karen Hurley, Stephanie Adams with us, and we come to you once, sometimes twice a month, trying to get you some information about Farr and everything else. But before we get into the show, quick reminder, please like this station, like the show, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you share this with your friends. Also, if you have any comments that you want to leave, just put them in the comments below, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. If you put it in the comments, we're going to see it, and we can address any questions you have in subsequent shows. With that, Karen, Stephanie, how you guys doing?
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Good morning.
Thank you, Scott, for hosting us and hosting Farr and Beyond. You're my business partner. However, it's really great to have you as a host because I wouldn't know how to do that.
So I know where all the buttons are, people.
Yeah,
that's
the buttons. He's the
that's
button
it. I'm the
person.
button monkey.
Right. So I'm Karen Hurley, and I'm honored to certainly be part of Farr and Beyond podcast. Stephanie Eddowes and I are part of the PR committee for Farr. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then Stephanie can tell you about herself. One of the reasons that this Farr is really important to me is that as a recovering person myself, I think that people deserve to have safe, sober homes, safe places to go, safe community leaders, and Farr is about that. Farr has grown up to be an adult now, and Farr is quite able to do all of the things that were projected many years ago. And with the CEO, Michael Schlossman, with the chairman of the board, Michael Cabot, and all the other board members, things are beginning to happen. Real community work is beginning to happen, and lives are being saved, quite frankly. So we're going to talk about some of that as we move forward. I've been on the board. I was on the board in the beginning, left a couple times. I've been on the board now almost 3 years, and it's truly an honor. I dedicate time because it's important that we save lives. And many times we're losing this battle as we talk about. The more we work together, the more teams we put together, the more we can save more lives. So I'm honored to work with Stephanie Eddowes. She's my friend, as well as certainly, we both serve on the board of Farr. We serve on the committees. We do a lot of extra things because it's important. So let Stephanie tell you a little bit about herself.
Thank you, Karen. So you're right. It is an honor to be part of Farr and watch how far we've come, and we have far to go. Right? That's my idea, right? So, and the reason that I got involved, frankly, is because when I was working in a treatment center as an aftercare coordinator and doing a little bit of the sober coaching and things like that, there's a real lack of safe, affordable housing in the sober community. And so one of the things that I really put a lot of emphasis on is helping people that want to open sober homes do it in a safe and effective way, and teach them and show them what a sober house is supposed to look like, and then help them to put all the pieces in place so that they can, really a lot of people, once they get sober, they have that dream of helping other people, of course, along the way. That's what we do. That's how we stay sober. And
Right.
So helping to teach and putting those pieces together for people to open sober living, to help others through is one of the biggest things. There's a lack of good housing. We're trying to fix that. And we're trying to help people to be able to make a living as a sober home operator. So that's one of the biggest things the reasons that I got involved. Now, being able to put together the events that we're doing and teaching, doing the education piece is really, really important. And it's actually a lot of fun. So, what started out as really something that I felt a passion to do has become really fun, and I look forward to working with all the people that are making Farr better today.
I agree totally. One of the things that's so important is the more that we work together, and education. We're all about education, all of us. And now Farr is offering more and more education, more and more help, more and more support, so that sober livings that are credentialed and the ones that we want to bring into the fold have resources, and they have education, and there's pieces to this that they may not have anywhere else. So that's part of the whole community effort that I think all of us are part of.
Right, and everyone can get involved with Farr. Everyone
Yes.
can be a part of and come to the events and be a part of this movement that we have. That's really, trying to infiltrate areas outside of just, where where we are in Palm Beach County. We want to infiltrate the entire state of Florida so that everyone has the opportunity, to go to a safe, structured, affordable, sober living after they're, in treatment or when they've made the decision to get sober, and, to provide, avenues for folks, to have a sober living home and to bring the sobriety into people's lives.
Absolutely.
So as we go throughout the show, I just want to put this up here and let everybody know, if you want more information than what we're giving you, you can go to farronline.org for the website. You can email them at info@farronline.org, or give them a direct phone call at 561-299-0405, 561-299-0405. Great people will be there to answer your questions. Speaking of great people, this is one of my favorite people on the planet that we're going to have on right now. This is Will Atkinson. He is, I believe, the executive director of the Recovery Epicenter Foundation over in Clearwater. It's in Pasco County. He's on the other coast. And I don't mean California, I mean on the Gulf Coast. What's up, Will?
So,
hey guys.
Will is also on the board of directors. One of the things that Steph and I are beginning to talk about is that each month we're going to introduce you on Farr and Beyond podcast to each one of the directors that are on the board, and let them talk about their experiences and who they are. And some are sober living, some have different businesses, but that way you'll get to know each and every one of us personally and can reach out to us. So Will, we love Will. Everybody loves Will, right?
And congratulations on your new addition to your family that's happened the past year.
18 months old.
Yeah, she's growing far too quickly, but I am super grateful to be a part of that journey. The same way I've been honored to be a small part of the Farr journey over the years, and very excited to be here with y'all today. Both you and Karen, Scott, and both all Stephanie. You guys are my heroes. Y'all are doing the amazing work and have been for years. So it's an honor to get to sit here today with you.
Now, I want you guys to talk about Farr and do all that, but this is your moment first to explain your program, the Recovery Epicenter. Now, I want to make sure it's right. Is it Epic Center or Epicenter?
Epicenter. The idea was that recovery would, reach out. Yeah,
Okay.
Reach out from one person helping another person to eliminate barriers for sustainable recovery. And that's actually not where I got started with Farr. We are, weirdly enough, circling back around as the RCO in Pinellas County that also does some outreach into Pasco and Hillsborough and into Manatee. But we're circling back around to housing. I got started first in treatment, and then opened up my own sober living company, Tampa Bay Sober Living, in 2011. I'm honored to say that we created the first Farr accredited program on the west coast of Florida that became certified in 2013. I was on the board from 2014 to 2018, and have been back on the board from 2021 to present. So I've seen the Farr's growth. I've seen it go through a number of growing pains, and I've also had the opportunity to grow as a professional in this field alongside him. So I am grateful for all of the amazing things that Farr is now doing, and I am grateful to be a small piece of it as a member of the board of directors.
Thank you. I think a lot a lot of you and for what you do. And I know some of the people that support you over in that area. One of the things I was thinking about is what do you see the difference between when we were on the boards years ago and part of Sober Living? Scott and I were program directors at that point for a treatment center. What do you see the differences? Because we used to refer, and we didn't even know who the good guys were and the bad guys were in those years. So how do you see that different now?
So that's actually why I was so excited to get an accreditation way back when, is I wanted the designation of being one of the good guys at a time when there were a lot of bad actors in Florida. And a lot of FAR was about doing our best to distinguish ourselves as separate than those who were patient brokering or acting immorally, illegally, or unethically. A lot of those years were an amazing vision that would get sidetracked often by world events and just situations that didn't seem to benefit overall. So the difference, if you're asking, is vision versus professionalism. So we had a really cool vision that I wanted to be a part of that, had some cool wins. We got the CRRA piece established in 2015, 2016. We got the voluntary certification. We got recognized by DCF in those days as the accrediting body for the state of Florida. No actual funding or support came along with that. So it was one of those titles and name only type of situations that really just kind of led the organization into languishing with some new leadership, with some really dedicated folks like yourselves. That's changed. FAR is now actively helping. I can't even, I think we have like over 10,000 beds now that are certified in the state of Florida. Like, that's huge. That's more than all other NAR affiliates combined in all of the United States. Mm-hmm. So as we talk about this lack of having, accredited affordable housing in Florida, imagine how bad it is throughout the United States when, we're struggling just to get enough accredited beds that are affordable here. And we're doing it better than any other state. It's fascinating. So that is a long, rambling explanation for things are way, way better than they have ever been. And it is super, I'm proud to be a part of it.
Will, you made a great point about something. I want to point this out. Mm-hmm. You said that FAR now has more beds than all the other individual state associations. We're not talking about NAR, but the other individual states. But that just points to the problem. Florida has a larger population of recovery residences, treatment centers, and everything else. Other states are catching up, but we've always had more, which means we have to do it better.
Yep.
Because we've got more things that can go wrong, more people that could die. We have to do it better, and that's why I'm so glad you guys are all working together on this.
Well, and we've seen the problems without regulations. We've seen the problems without any type of oversight. We've seen the problems that happen in this field when bad actors just decide they want to make money. FAR directly combats all of that. And it's one of the most, to me, bellwethers or indicators of whether somebody is going to do the right thing or not is, are they interested in being accredited? Are they interested in being held accountable? If they're not, my general inclination is, all right, that person's trying to pull something somewhere. And that's just based on experience now in this field for the better part of, 15 years. So I would like to say there are good programs out there that are not FAR accredited. I don't know many of them though, and so I would encourage anyone who is not FAR accredited to do the right thing. Join the rest of us with a standards and accountability platform. But one of the other changes that's really interesting is back in the day, like grievances would be filed and never be followed up on. like now they have it down to a science where they get back to them within, a matter of, 24 to 48 hours. And there's a whole policy review process, and it goes through our legal counsel. Like it's incredible, like what FAR is able to accomplish in a small amount of time, just based on people actively participating and holding each other accountable. Because the goal is not to punish; the goal is to get better. And when approached that way, amazing things happen for people with a substance use disorder like myself, who can finally be safe and supported in the place that they live.
Totally agree. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking is when I was getting sober and clean, lived in New York State, and there was no such thing as sober living, except I wanted to help people. I owned a bed and breakfast. We brought people in, but there was no education. We just did it from what we learned in, going to whatever program you believe. I got sober and clean in AA, but it's like we just did it from the goodness of our heart, but we didn't have any rule. We didn't have any program to really follow. We had a program for sobriety, but we didn't have one for how do we help another human being in a sober living setting. And when I was first introduced to FAR, 2011 or 12, when I was first down here, I loved the idea because I think credentials are so important. Let's face it, all of us have a background. We're all in recovery. We all have a background. We all have something. And if we get credentialed, that gives us credibility, not only for ourselves as human beings, but for the people around us. It shows something. So people say to me, well, what am I going to get? Well, what are you going to give?
Yeah.
That's always one of the things I say is, what are you going to give to this? Well, I can't afford it. Oh, but we could afford, when we wanted something or we want something, we can always afford it. Come on. But FAR is willing to work on they're willing to do so much to payments and work things out for you. So there really isn't any excuse except, like you said, if you don't want to be looked at or accredited, why? My question is to you now is why? What is the truth in that?
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie talks about this before.
Yes.
I've heard her mention this, that good intentions are not a substitute for standards and policy. You have to have standards and policy. Good intentions will not get you there. Not all people who do this are bad people, but they end up in bad situations, right, Steph?
Right. And, what I was thinking about is that being a part of something bigger than ourselves, right? That was one of the attractive pieces of getting sober and getting into one of the anonymous, right, EANA, whatever it is, but it's connection. And by connecting with FAR, you're opening up a huge avenue for support. And FAR is not there to point fingers or make you feel embarrassed because you made a mistake. Like right. We've all been there. We've all done that, and the only way to learn is to fall down, scuff your knees and get back up again. But at least you have somebody there with a Band-Aid that says, hey, we'll help you. This was wrong and this is wrong. But guess what? We're going to help you put it right. And the more you put it right, the more opportunities open up for you to help other people. It's almost
like that's part of the recovery process. I'm so sorry to cut you off. It's almost as if, we allow people to go through these things so that they can get better. Please continue. My apologies.
Oh, and I don't want to ramble, but it's important to understand that FAR is not just a governing committee that's trying to, get people. No, we're opening our arms to everyone who wants to be operators and it wants to live in a safe, affordable housing. The families of people that are putting their kids and their family members in sober living. There's such a ripple effect to what's going on here that it's really quite amazing. And one of the things, Will, that I want you to talk about is the RCO, is the Recovery Community Organization, the connection that you do through that. And that was just amazing to me. When I finally figured out what an RCO was, wow. I didn't know. And that's one of the things. I can go into any treatment center in the area and talk to the patients or even the people working there and say, hey, do you know what an RCO is? And they have no clue. And it's the best thing since sliced bread.
I think all of us walked around for like 6 months talking about RCOs, but being afraid to ask anybody, what the hell is that?
So I don't hear about Will's RCO. I love it.
Yes.
Well, so guys, I started out in treatment, and I very quickly became aware of the deficiencies with our acute care model. The idea that human beings can go in for a tune-up and come out and just fly right, fly straight, be better for the rest of their lives, it isn't the reality of the disease that we're working. And so that's where amazing, affordable, accredited housing comes into play as the next step for a little bit longer. But then shortly after that, I recognized that wasn't all anyone needed. You can create the best, mousetrap, so to speak, with policies, procedures, guidelines for people to follow, and it still not be enough. What we really need, and you guys have talked about it, is connection. We need human beings to work with us where we are. And that is whether we are abstinent or not, whether we are in a multiple pathway like MOUD or MAT. It means whether we need someone because we aren't fully convinced that we have the ism yet. You guys were self-disclosing, so let me be self-disclosing. I'm an old school AA guy who has had to open his mind to multiple pathways thanks to the recovery community organization movement.
Same.
Which means my recovery may not look like your recovery. And I need to be able to supervise and train peers, people with the same ism that I have, that our participants have, to be able to help them go through what we're learning as part of the stages of change. Of, hey, I recognize heroin is bad for me, but I still think I want to drink for a while.
Right.
Okay. Or I recognize that drinking's not good for me, but I'm going to try this California sober thing and smoke pot. Okay, let's see how that goes. Or I'm going to be on Suboxone, or I'm going to be, and we need to be able to not ostracize human beings for what they're choosing to do. Because what I like to say is we're not on a temperance movement here. Like, I did some really awful things in active use that for me tells me, like, hey man, I'm not, like, that doesn't work for me. That's all. Like, I know that I don't want to live that way. And so I follow a more traditional 12-step process in my life. That doesn't mean anyone else has to do that. And so being open to another human being's experiences on top of safe, affordable, structured, sober living, on top of good stabilization that removes us from whatever our substance of no choice is, on top of whatever socioeconomic conditions we were born into and the cultures and the situations, all of a sudden we're building this process that allows for human beings to be themselves, to grow in the process that they're growing, whether positively or negatively, however you want to look at it, that's in the eye of the beholder, but it's keeping them safe, and it's keeping them alive, and it's keeping them connected to a process that hopefully eventually will allow them to save their lives. And through the operation of peer respite centers, through the operation of outreach peers in the community, through the operation of widespread Narcan distribution, and God willing, through the more prevalence of FAR accredited sober living homes, we will continue to see a decrease in the number of lives lost due to substance use and misuse in the United States, and Florida specifically. That's the theory. Over the last 2 years, we've begun to see elements of that theory supported, but it's a fraction of where we need to be. So it's, as opposed to patting ourselves on the back, job well done, it's pat ourselves on the back, let's keep going.
Right.
There's more to do. And there are so many people in this community as it is. It's a community of people with lived experience who want to help. And each and every one of them have their skill and their opportunity to do so. God willing, we'll eventually address the draconian level 2 background screening process in Florida. But you know what? Fingers crossed. That's for the future. As of right now, we have a pretty great modality beginning to be enacted that will be finally separating us from the acute care model and moving us towards a long-term supportive modality of care that allows for human beings to make mistakes, grow from them, and hopefully survive them. That's my spiel.
I agree with everything you said. You know, all of us. I will tell you, next month I'll be sober clean 45 years, and thank you. But my point really is, in the time that I have been sober and clean, everything has changed so much. I remember in the beginning, if you were on antidepressants, you were not sober and clean.
Yep.
I mean, way back, and all of that has changed and has to be. There's so many ways, and I love the way you said that. The respect for each person needs to be there, because none of us like to be judged.
Nope.
Yeah,
we react totally
all
to
the time, right? They were judging all the time about how you should do this. Well, we actually know ourselves really well. You know, I don't care who you are. You know if you're lying to yourself, and you're making a little case about that lying. You know what you're doing. Bottom line is, there are so many ways to do this. Mine happens to be abstinence. That doesn't mean that somebody else. I have family members that do it a different way. I respect them for doing it that way.
Karen, what's your date next month, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, no, it's not next month. It's April 1st, April Fool's Day, remember?
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I was about to be excited. Mine's February 27th. I'll have 19 years, so that's why I was like, ooh, we could be buddies.
No, it's April 1st. Yeah, April Fool's Day. That's the date I wanted to change. My sponsor said, oh, no. You could be a fool for a while. In the old days. So we're not into February yet, so it's April. So, yeah. Anyway, what's so amazing is that if we stop judging people get to make choices for themselves. You have more self-worth, and your life is saved. That's
yes, ma'am. And that's really RCOs in a nutshell, from people with active use to pre-contemplative stage to contemplative stage to long-term abstinence and or long-term maintenance of some type of harm reduction pathway.
Yeah. All
of these individuals who suffer from the same disease coming together for a supportive process of one another. Like that's, and it's interesting to say, because if I was in my first couple of years of abstinence model, I don't think I could be, in some of the settings that a harm reductionist is asked to be. That would be a very triggering type of space. So keep in mind, like, we need good supervision in this space. It's a high burnout, highly emotional type of process, but can be incredibly rewarding when, because now I'm going to drop into, 12-step literature, you know what I mean? We can go anywhere as a free man when our motives are right. Yes. And so and I have had that experience, seen many other people with that experience. So it's the opportunity to be helpful is not, I guess, held hostage by our ism when we're doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves, whatever that looks like for the individual.
I agree. Steph, want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, I do actually, because I've been sitting here thinking about one of the biggest lessons that I learned in my recovery. Was recently, I don't know if you know Barbara Moody. She has an RCO up in Port St. Lucie. And I called her one day because I had someone that really needed help. And his family was trying to find a place to send him. He had some mental health issues, and I didn't know what to do with him. And, I was caught up in, oh my gosh, I got to find a place to put this guy. His family doesn't want him anymore. I got to find a place, and nobody will take him, blah, blah, blah. And Barbara said to me, what does he want? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, have you talked to him? And I said, no, but I talked to the family. And she said, you need to talk to him. You need to ask him what he needs. And so there was a huge lesson for me, because I was used to taking charge, taking the ball, running down the field with it, throwing it. And that was a big lesson, because at her place where like as an RCO and as a recovery coach and all that jazz, you're meeting people where they're at, not necessarily where I think they should be or their family thinks they should be. And it was huge for me. And the message that I now send out to folks that are struggling or trying to find their way is, you will find your tribe. There's enough sober living homes that will connect you to where you need to be. You just need to trust where that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Tell what you need. If you need an LGBTQ community, if you need a bodybuilding community, if you need a real softy community, keep looking until you find it, because we're out there. We're just waiting for you. We're waiting.
I agree.
That's my message.
You're good.
I got to ask you, we've kind of been alluding towards, I think Stephanie said it very clearly too, about being part of something bigger, and how important that is. Building these connections. We've seen Farr grow, I think, more in the last 2 years than all the previous years. There's been more done. We went from riding a bicycle to we're warp speeding on the Enterprise, with so much work getting done, good people doing that work. But what I want to ask, and Will, you're probably the best one to answer this question, because you're 24/7 ensconced in a lot of things. Does actually being part of something like Farr, getting the help from them, good neighbor policies and all that stuff, does that help our impact on the community itself? Not just on the homes, but the way people see the homes, the way people see RCOs. Are you seeing a shift in that?
A huge shift in that. So, in my area alone, I don't know how to share this effectively. So please I'm going to get the word soup out. Our very first stable recovery home was in downtown St. Pete. And we were the first in the area. We only had 12 beds. And thanks to Farr, we were able to then, we ended up taking over another program. That the owner had returned to active use and was having, some difficulties. And so we stepped in and essentially went from a 12-bed program to a 70-bed program overnight. Simply because we had an accreditation that was trusted by the local treatment centers and wanted to continue to refer to. But that meant we ended up letting go of our original home. It just was too much for us to manage. One was in Clearwater, one was in St. Pete. It was a lot. And as we were packing up that St. Pete home, the neighbors came by and they're like, "Where the hell have you guys been? This place has gone to shit without you." Excuse my language.
It's okay. There's no FCC here, man. Just go for it.
And so it was just funny, because it was this like very downtown area, very transient area, and for years, for a good 3 or 4 years, there was this one stable spot that was the sober home, the group of guys in recovery. And when we moved, they were very aware of. Anyway, that was a nice anecdotal type of it doesn't matter where you set up. If you have the right culture and you're doing the right things, you will improve your community. On a policy and procedure type of basis, I have, and I'm proud of this, in the middle of the opioid epidemic, we've had less than 10 overdoses in any of our homes. Just let that sink in. We've been around since 2011, and less than 10 people have had an overdose in the home, and we have only lost 2.
Wow, I've got goosebumps.
So when we're talking about an accredited space that has oversight, that has, all of our people are being trained, and that's really the most recent test of that was this last New Year's Eve. We had a gentleman who was unfortunately had a recurrence of use, locked himself in the bathroom. And here's the thing, I'm a very hands-on type of person, but since my daughter's been born, I've had to rely more and more on staff. And I had my daughter that night. So I get the call that there's an issue, and my instant reaction is I want to run out and go address this. Our house manager called 911, followed directions, addressed situation, saved the man's life, and handled the entire situation. And all I had to do was, follow the process with Farr of letting them know what had happened. And it's an incredible thing to be a part of when we know that we're doing the right things and are able to train essentially just the most senior peer in the house how to handle these things. It was an honor to learn, because I was terrified the entire time, to be honest with you. I'm just that type of person. It was an honor to hear on the back end that not only had they saved his life, but they had followed all the processes to do so. Anyway, my point of sharing that is I hear probably once a month, at other homes there's an issue, or someone's passed away, or like that. We're pretty serious at Farr about making sure that people are safe, processes are abided by, and all the right, I's are dotted and T's are crossed to make sure that our residents' lives are safe.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's great. A testament to your people too.
Yep.
Yes.
It's great that the owner has good intentions and a good heart and even is well educated. But if your people aren't, you're in trouble. You made sure that, and that's one of the things Farr focuses on, is the people who work there, not just the owners, people who work there, that they're credentialed and they're doing the right things, right?
Yes.
You get it. And that's the point. Like, I really want to make that clear, is that's the goal of Farr, is to see the process get better for all. And I want to do a shout out for you guys, one brother, one sister, that is doing a lot of the trainings. The gentleman in question has been in one of y'all's trainings to learn how to do these type of things. So like, it's really cool, to see how the interconnected process of professionals within the substance use disorder field positively benefit outcomes for the residents and participants of RCOs and sober living homes. It's a part of the process. So well done, guys.
Here I was giving him credit. Turns out we did it. It's part of the team. We achieve together what seems impossible alone, and that's really kind of what we're doing with Farr. We need to wrap up. Karen,
We're going to have a little.
here.
Well, one of the things we're going to do is how we're going to take a few minutes and talk about our community events corner that Stephanie has just created for us today. And so we're going to start doing that. So one of the things that we can talk about is that we have the Brunch and Learns. And Will, you were at our Brunch and Learn January 23rd in Tampa. We had a whole room full of 40 people, some credited, some not, lots of questions. It was amazing, was it not?
Oh, it was incredible. Absolutely amazing. Like, and huge shout out to Farr to taking an interest in the Suncoast region. It has been a real blessing to not only have a dedicated worker here, but the CEO and other board members routinely visiting this area recently. So thank you all.
That's important. Where else do you see a CEO running around the state, making appearances? He's not just sitting behind his desk. He actually cares enough to clear the day and come out and talk to people and connect. That's the whole thing. We're connectors. That's what we did.
Yes.
It's impressive, and it's important, and it's a great opportunity to meet the people that are running the show, so that if you do have an issue or a problem, you know who to call.
And we've six different locations throughout this year. The next one is Waukesha Springs, February 19th. We'll be in Orlando, March 20th. The location will be announced for that. But each month we'll have a little information about the community events from each of our guests. Steph, that was your idea?
Yeah, I'd like to make people aware of the different events that are going on, recovery events and so on that are going on in the areas, because a lot of times, if you're an owner of a sober living home, you're so busy running the day-to-day operations that you don't have the bandwidth to know that, next weekend is an event that my guys or my gals could go to and get some support and, real fun things like the barbecue that we're putting on this summer again.
Yep.
So we want to have people from all over coming down and attending the barbecue with all the things that we have to offer and learning about Farr and participating in the food and fun and activities that we're going to be putting on free for the residents of sober homes in the area. And there's a lot of those that go on. We just don't get the information out as readily as we could or should.
Well, and one of the great things about the barbecue is how to be sober and clean and have fun. And we have to learn that.
And we know it's going to be a success because last year we had standing room only and we held it on the surface of the sun. It was the hottest day of the year. I saw 4 people melt. I don't know where they are now. They disappeared. But people showed up. They want that. And Steph, you're absolutely right. We need to let them know what Farr events we have and educational events, but not only that, what events for their house, their guests, their house guests. What can the owners go back and say, listen, the men's group over here is doing an anniversary, or this is happening, or that's happening. Let's give them all that. So we will be starting the Farr Corner.
And we'll have our emails on there, so you can email us what's going on and your events in your area. We will post them. We will help you with that. So all of us together, working together, will have some good things happening.
Now, I want to remind everybody, if you want to know more about what Will does, you can go to recoveryepicenter and find out about what's going on with the RCO over there. It's also a good way to reach out and see and talk to Will. You can get a hold of him through that. Is that correct, Will?
That is. And if I can just make a plug before we sign off, I would love, as fellow board members, for us to find a way to create an accreditation for peer respite services. Right now, the only thing that's holding that up is the short-term nature of peer respite. So if we're able to create a accreditation for this needed service with my fellow board members here, wink, wink, we would love to see that process happen. Because we are opening up our second peer respite now in the Tampa Bay region. Pasco County has given us a grant through the opioid abatement funding to do so. And so in mid-February, we should be good to go there like we have been in Clearwater and Pinellas.
Well, let's talk about that so we can write something and put that all together, and we can all be training and helping. And get a hold of us right after if you want.
And this is all happening. I mean, a year ago, if you said peer respite, somebody would have said, who spit on who? What are you talking about? We're learning now about the RCOs, about the respites, about what's finally getting the attention is the back end of treatment. After people, for years, there was so much focus on treatment that treatment actually, they blew themselves up. The insurance companies blew them up. They had a mess and everything else, but they never thought about what happens when they walk out that door. Now we're bringing attention to that, thank God. And it's now becoming as important, if not more important than the treatment. Yeah. And we want to honor everyone out there. You guys have sober homes. You help out, you work in an RCO, you're putting things together. We thank you for your service. And it is a great service you're doing, because every one of those people out there, there's not an addict or an alcoholic on the planet who deserves to die from this disease.
That's right.
Everyone out there is somebody's mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, son, or daughter. Everybody is somebody, and we all need to help. And we thank you guys, all of you out there who are doing the right thing. All right.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, guys? You want to close it out?
Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's an honor anytime. And you guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. You are too.
Thank you.
See you soon.
All right. For our guests, Will Atkinson, Stephanie Eddowes, Karen Hurley, I'm Scott Jones. Thanks for joining us here on Farr and Beyond. Please don't forget to like this show, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.